She didn't slam a door. She didn't yell. She just stopped calling. At first, I thought she was busy. Then I wondered if I did something wrong. And then I realized my kids don't need me anymore. I gave them everything I had, my time, my love, my identity. And now I'm sitting in a quiet house trying to figure out who I am when no one's reaching for me anymore. This is what it feels like to love your children unconditionally and learn how to let go without breaking. There's no instruction manual for this part of parenting. No one tells you what to do when the house is quiet, not peaceful quiet, but that empty kind. The kind that stretches too long and hums with a little ache. For years, I was someone's entire world, their provider, their safe place, their steady hand. And I took that role seriously, maybe too seriously. I showed up, I worked hard, I kept the lights on and the fridge full. I gave advice whether they wanted it or not. I sat in parking lots during practice, cooked meals when I was tired, listened even when I didn't know what to say. And now I wake up and realize no one really needs me anymore. That realization doesn't come all at once. It creeps in quietly. At first, it was fewer texts, then fewer questions, then decisions made without even looping me in. The first time I found out about something big, a job change, a breakup, a move, after it had already happened, that's when I felt it. Not anger, not jealousy, just something sinking inside of me like I was becoming an extra in a movie I used to star in. And then my daughter stopped talking to me completely. It wasn't loud. There wasn't some dramatic fight. No door slammed, no final words that echoed in the hallway. It was silence, a slow, thick, uncertain silence that stretched into weeks, then months. At first I thought, she must be busy. Then, maybe she's upset about something. I'll give her space. Then the realization, this might not be temporary. That's when it really hit me. My daughter, who once couldn't fall asleep without my voice, who held my hand through the grocery store, who cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak, now lives in a world where I no longer exist, or at least not in the way I used to. I replayed every conversation, every missed opportunity to listen better, every moment I might have overstepped or undershowed up. You do that as a parent, especially when things fall apart. You rewind and relive and revisit. And still, there was no clear answer, just absence. I don't share this for pity. I'm sharing this because no one prepares you for what it feels like when your kids, the same ones you gave your whole life to, grow into people who don't reach for you anymore. There's this myth that once the hard part of parenting is over, the diapers, the schooling, the scraped knees and curfews, it gets easier. But no one talks about the ache of being phased out. No one talks about how it hurts to be needed less. We are taught how to parent children, but we're not taught how to let go of adults we helped raise. And let me tell you, letting go without resentment, that's a whole different kind of strength. Because the truth is, I still love her. I always will. And I've had to come to peace with this. Loving someone doesn't mean they'll love you in the way you need. Being someone's parent doesn't guarantee you'll stay in the center of their world. Sometimes love is quiet. It's not return calls or hugs. Sometimes it's just keeping your heart open, even when theirs has shut a door. So I let her go, not because I stopped caring, but because clinging to what was breaking me. I stopped checking my phone every morning for her name. I stopped writing unsent messages in my notes app. I stopped apologizing for things I didn't understand. Instead, I started showing up for myself, cooking for one, walking in silence, breathing into the space she used to fill. And somewhere in that letting go, I found something I hadn't had in a while, myself. I never realized how much of my identity was wrapped up in being someone else's anchor until I no longer had anyone leaning on me. It's strange. You go from being the one who solves things to the one who's not even called. You're not angry. Not really, but something shifts. A kind of stillness settles in, not peace, just stillness. For a while I felt invisible, like my role had been written out of the script and no one had told me. Birthdays went by without calls. Decisions were made without questions. Photos of moments I wasn't part of floated across social media like little reminders of where I no longer belonged. And then came a guilt. Was I too harsh? Was I too soft? Did I protect too much or not enough? Parenting doesn't come with a report card. You don't get a final grade. You get silence, distance, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a second chance. But here's what I've learned, and what I wish I had known years earlier. You cannot parent a grown adult the way you parented a child. You can love them, but you cannot fix them. You can support them, but you cannot save them. There's a point, and no one tells you when it comes, when love has to turn into space, and space is not a punishment. It's a pause, a breath, a surrender. I spent months trying to decode the silence with my daughter, looking for the why, writing letters I never sent, drafting texts and deleting them, wondering if she even noticed the silence. But eventually, I stopped searching for a clean ending, because not all relationships have closure. Sometimes you learn to carry a quiet love, one that asks for nothing but hope. And while part of me still wishes she'd reach out, a bigger part of me knows this. I can't wait forever to be seen. I have to see myself. So I started changing things. I woke up earlier. I made coffee without expecting a call. I started taking care of my body, not because anyone was watching, but because I was watching. I started journaling again. Not about her, not about the pain, but about the parts of me I had forgotten, the hobbies I dropped, the dreams I delayed, the woman I used to be before I was mom. I began reconnecting with people who hadn't left, old friends, neighbors, even strangers on morning walks who smiled back. I stopped saying, "I'm fine," when I wasn't, and I stopped pretending I didn't miss her. I did. I still do. But I stopped building my day around her absence. One day, I walked past the room where her photos hung. I didn't cry. I didn't stare too long. I just smiled. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I could finally hold the memory without being crushed by it. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the love disappears. It means the need for things to be different softens. It means I can still be proud of the mother I was, even if she never says it out loud. And in that stillness, I've started hearing other voices, not my daughter's, but my own. The one that says, "You're allowed to be full even when someone has walked away. You're still worthy, even if you're not needed in the same way. You are not only a parent, you are a whole person." That voice, it had been waiting quietly beneath the grief. Now, I let it speak. I used to think that letting go meant giving up, that if I stopped trying, I didn't care, that if I moved on, I was cold. That healing meant forgetting. But now I know. It means something else entirely. It means making space for peace, for possibility, for me. Grief doesn't always come from death. Sometimes it comes from distance. The distance between how things used to be and how they are now. And when you're a parent, that distance feels personal. But it's not always about you. Sometimes your child is hurting. Sometimes they're growing. Sometimes they're angry. And sometimes they just need space. That part hurts. But it's not punishment. It's just part of being human. I stopped asking myself, why is she doing this to me? And I started asking, what can I do for myself? I stopped waiting on the apology, stopped building fantasies of reconciliation, stopped believing that closure was a requirement for moving forward. And in that decision, I found freedom. Not the kind that jumps up and down, but the quiet kind, the kind that shows up in small ways. I found freedom in choosing a walkover, waiting by the phone, in writing for the sake of expression, not expectation, in talking to someone who did show up instead of crying over the one who didn't. I started reclaiming my identity, piece by piece. I'm not just someone's mother. I'm someone who still feels deeply, still laughs at bad jokes, still loves morning sunlight and the sound of wind in the trees, still has stories to tell, still has years to live fully. It took time. It took tears. It took silence. But that silence, the one I once hated, became a sanctuary, a place where I stopped clinging and started breathing. There's a kind of power that comes when you've survived heartbreak and still choose gentleness. That's what I try to live now. Not bitterness, not blame, not waiting, but something softer, more grounded. If my daughter ever calls again, I'll answer with love. No punishment, no guilt trip, no why now. But if she doesn't, I'll be okay. I no longer need to be needed to feel valuable. I no longer measure my worth by how often someone calls or texts. And I no longer chase relationships that require me to lose myself to keep them. This is not the story I imagined, but it's still mine. And I get to choose how it's told. I don't share this because it's finished. It's not. The missing is still there. Some days the ache still catches me, but I share this because maybe you felt it too. That sharp shift from being the center of your child's world to being just another contact in their phone they don't use anymore. That empty seat at a birthday. That seen message with no reply. That silent car ride home from a visit that didn't happen. If you felt that, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not forgotten. You're still here, still needed, even if it's in a different way than before. You matter, not just as a parent, but as a person. And you are allowed to heal, even if they don't come back. I've learned something in this chapter of my life. The hardest love to give is the kind that asks for nothing in return. And yet, it's also the purest. I still carry my daughter in my heart, but I no longer carry the burden of trying to make her stay. Love doesn't always come back in the way we hope. Sometimes it never comes back at all. But it doesn't mean the love was wasted. It just means it changed shape. Maybe I'll hear from her again. Maybe I won't. I don't need to know the ending to keep living the middle. So now I choose to live for the moments in front of me. The cup of tea I brew each morning. The neighbor who waves. The book I finally finish. The laugh I didn't expect. The silence that no longer stings but softens. There's peace in surrender. Not giving up, but releasing the version of the story you held too tightly. That version where the family was always close, where your kids always called, where holidays were full, where love was loud and predictable. Reality is quieter than that. But it's still worthy, and so are you. I'm not the same person I was when my children were little, and maybe that's a good thing. I've grown too. I've learned that healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about remembering who you are even after it did. I'm still a mother, even in silence, even in absence, even in letting go. And I learned to fill the space with things that nourish me. Gentle routines, honest friendships, purpose that doesn't require permission. I say this to anyone who's feeling what I felt. You don't need to be someone's everything to be something in this world. You don't need to be invited to matter. You don't need their response to start your recovery. Let go, not with bitterness, but with love. Let go, not to erase the past, but to make room for your future. Let go, because holding on was starting to hold you back. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to wish it were different. And it's also okay to move forward anyway. Your life didn't end when they stopped calling. It shifted. And you? You get to decide what to do with that space. So today, I fill mine with peace, with small joys, with purpose that's mine alone. And maybe someday the phone will ring again. But even if it doesn't, I'll be okay, because I finally let go without letting myself go. And that, I've learned, is love too. If you've been through something like this, I see you. I really do. Feel free to share your story in the comments, only if you want to. And if this video made you feel less alone, give it a like and subscribe to Stronger After 60. Because sometimes healing doesn't come from fixing the past. It comes from telling the truth and walking forward. Even if it's quietly, you're still strong, you're still here, and you're not alone.